Well, here's an interesting video I need to do. It's not every day that I talk about this kind of thing. Now, this is interesting because we're going to talk about global warming for a minute. But we also need to remember guys like Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, long ago, unbelievable track record, by the way, said the North Pole would be shifting, would be moving, would be a pole shift. And he mentioned it would be going towards some part of Russia or whatever. And over the last probably 15 years, I've noticed tracking that sucker, it's actually going where he said it was. So even though many ice ages here, it doesn't mean that where the North and South poles are, all of a sudden should be chock full of ice. If the poles are shifting, there's going to be a new space ultimately that's going to be chock full of ice and not the old ones, which is why we're down in Antarctica, finding all kinds of interesting things under what used to be ice, and of course over there is melting. But don't be confused. Ain't no man-made global warming. We are entering a mini ice age, as I just did my videos about the Webbot hits, about the unprecedented amounts of snow right now in May. That, this only happened one time before in, 100 years, and this has never happened before in this state. Oh, it's happening now, like the Webbot predicted. But I want to just clear that up before I get started. The Arctic, this is Zero Hedge. The Arctic, remember the sloth bar, what the hell it was called? Doomsday seed vault, remember that? The Arctic Doomsday seed vault to save the world has just flooded, thanks to global warming. Again, not global warming, pole shift. There will be a new place that will take over what the North Pole currently is. And this is not going to happen in a day or night or a few years. It takes time. But again, if you watch where the North Pole used to be and where it is heading, etc. Does anyone remember a story about Tampa International Airport? They had to change something with the runway because the bearings had changed slightly. The North Pole, the north, magnetic north, it had shifted or whatever. Anyone remember that story from about 2 years ago? Anyways, having first been used in 2015 to save Syrian biodiversity, the Arctic stronghold for the world's seeds, designed to rescue humanity in case of doomsday, has flooded after permafrost melts due to global warming. While no seeds were lost, The Guardian writes that the ability of the rock vault to provide fail-safe protection against all disasters is now threatened by climate change. Now, I prefer to use climate change myself rather than global warming. Because when you hear the word global warming, you instantly think, man-made global warming, we're doing this. And that's not the case. But climate change, that's more accurate. Because again, we go through these little mini ice ages, then a hot period, the mini ice age period, hot period. And sometimes they're bigger and worse than mini. But at any rate, as a reminder, on a remote island that is just 800 miles from the North Pole, the Norwegian government has built a fail-safe in the freezing cold that protects thousands of the most vital crops from extinction. Svalbard, that's how you pronounce that. Officially called the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, it already holds close to 1 million samples of crops around the world, with each sample holding about 500 seeds. The following infograph, which I'm not going to share, from Futurism has more on this Doomsday Vault that could one day help to save civilization. And it makes me wonder, you guys got any GMOs up in there? Did Monsanto give you any GMO seeds, or are you guys collecting only the organic stuff? I sure hope it's still only the organic stuff, to be honest with you. And I don't care about the infograph. However, as the Guardian reports, while it was designed as an impregnable deep freeze to protect the world's most precious seeds from any global disaster and ensure humanity's food supply forever, the global seed vault has been breached after global warming produced extraordinary temperatures over the winter, sending meltwater gushing into the entrance tunnel. While it was opened in 2008, the deep permafrost through which the vault was sunk was expected to provide fail-safe protection against the challenge of natural or man-made disasters. But soaring temperatures in the Arctic, keyword, soaring temperatures in the Arctic. Again, why would the Arctic be soaring when other places, like I just said, 70, 80 degrees, next, small blizzard tomorrow. What? What are you talking about? Yep. One-off, once-in-a-lifetime event, snow, in, at the end of May in a place that never had snow in May. But again, that's the key word. Soaring temperatures in the Arctic. Why? Because, again, the poles have already begun to shift. And when they're done shifting, however long that may take, it could be decades and decades, I don't know. But when it's done shifting, you're going to find a new North Pole as far as ice goes, especially, and a new South Pole. The old one, and that's another thing Edgar Casey said, where there was once, snow and ice, fern and moss will grow, and vice versa, things like that. Anyways, but soaring temperatures in the Arctic at the end of the world's hottest ever recorded year led to melting and heavy rain when light snow should have been falling. It was not in our plans to think that the permafrost would not be there and that it would experience extreme weather like that, said Higa Asum from the Norwegian government, which owns the vault. A lot of water went into the start of the tunnel, and then it froze to ice, so it was like a glacier when you went in. Oh, it's a she. Sorry about that. She told The Guardian. Fortunately, the meltwater did not reach the vault itself. The ice has been hacked out, and the precarious seeds remain safe for now at the required storage temperature of negative 18 degrees Celsius. But the breach has questioned the ability of the vault to survive as a lifetime for humanity if catastrophe strikes. Quote, it was supposed to operate without the help of humans, but now we are watching the seed vault 24 hours a day, she said. We must see what we can do to minimize all the risks and make sure the seed bank can take care of itself. The vault's managers are now waiting to see if the extreme heat of this winter was a one-off or will be repeated or even exceeded as climate change heats the planet. And my friends, that's my guess. The end of 2016 saw average temperatures above 7 degrees Celsius, over 7 degrees Celsius above normal on Spitsbergen, pushing the permafrost above melting point. The question is whether this is just happening now or will it accelerate, she said. The Svalbard archipelago, of which Spitsbergen is part, has warmed rapidly in recent decades, according to Ketil Isaksen from Norway's Meteorological Institute. Asham said there was no option but to find solutions to ensure the enduring safety of the vault. We have to find solutions. It is a big responsibility, and we take it very seriously. We are doing this for the world. This is supposed to last for an eternity. End quote. So, again, I guess you guys don't look at anything that anybody says that might be psychic or have, like Edgar Casey, who's got a massive track record, by the way. Not just some bozo who said a few things and went away. The guy had incredible knowledge he would have never had. He had, I think, a 6th or 7th grade education before he had to drop out of school, I think, to help at the family farm or whatever. But when he went into his trance and gave his little speeches and people could ask questions, he would answer it like he was the most knowledgeable man on the face of the earth. And, of course, the greedy bankster type people, not necessarily the bankers, but I do know of a few times Rockefellers went to pay him a visit. One of the Rockefellers did anyways. And I don't know to date what they asked him, but people would go in there and ask him, who's going to win the horse race this Saturday? And he'd answer them and tell them, and he would be right. But his family started noticing, Edgar Casey's, because they would let people walk in the room when he was in his trance laying down or whatever and ask the question. And they noticed when that kind of greed came into the picture, when he was done giving these readings or whatever you want to call it, or channelings, he felt sick to his stomach, nauseous, just didn't feel good, headaches, and they didn't know why at first, and then they finally made the connection. When people ask legitimate, questions, he's fine, but when they come in for this greed-based type stuff, it messes him up. And he has, when he gets up, he's not feeling good and that kind of thing. So that's interesting. But if the thing's moving, the North Pole, and we do have, by the way, as they said, decades. What was that last piece? The Svalbard archipelago, of which Spitsbergen is part, has warmed rapidly in recent decades. according to Ketil Isaksen. So, or Isaksen. Decades means more than one decade. A decade, as we know, is 10 years. This vault was finished, completed, whatever, in 2008. So we'll call that 1 decade ago, since it's practically 2018 and, in another 6 months, 7 months. So you had data already showing interesting variations in temperature, and it was enough this time to melt ice that got inside, of course, then froze. And they've got this vault. It's almost, put it this way, it's almost like putting a vault near a volcano. But the volcano's been inactive for a couple hundred years, so it's nothing to worry about. Well, hold on, wait a minute. History shows that volcano has gone off. Correct. But it's been 200 years. We're good. No. Can't you find another spot, like far, far away from this volcano? Why does it have to be there? Right? That's what you'd be questioning. You'd be probably saying that. Now, naturally, this isn't a volcano where this is in Iceland, or whatever. What the hell country is that even in? I said at the top. I forgot. Svalbard Global Seed Vault. And I'm pretty sure I just read it a second ago. I just want to... Norway, right? Yeah, Norwegian. Norway. You had data showing there's some issues over the last few decades. As you said, decades have shown this. But now it seems to be ramping up, right? So even before it started ramping up, as in like, right now when this thing melted, because it was finished in 2008, nearly 10 years ago, you could argue, well, it's been 10 years and this is the first time this has happened. I get it, but it's not the first time you've seen crazy weather when it should be cold, it's melting, whatever, over the last few decades. But this also supports what I'm telling you from Edgar Cayce. The North Pole and such is moving. Pole shift. And you got to take some time looking at the data. You got to look at that and say, okay, well, this may be an issue. Let's find a better spot. But then again, you're in Norway. You've only got this piece of land that's yours. We want to be the global seed vault of the world. So everybody, this is where we're going to put it. It's on our property, so to speak. And it's still good. It's still a fantastic idea. But it's critical that they have these super, super cold, freezing temperatures, because things will last way, way, way longer. And all these seeds, basically being frozen, will last pretty much, not necessarily forever, but I think when they originally said it, and I wonder if it's in this thing, the little brochure that I didn't read you, like how many years it could. I want to say 1,000 years or something. 4.5 million seed samples, each with about 500 seeds. At present, the vault holds more than 860,000 seed samples. Crops important for food production and sustainable material. The vault now has the seeds of 5,100 species of crops representing 10,000 years of agricultural and genetic history. They don't own the seeds. Only the depositor has the right to withdraw. Again, I'm trying to find out. I thought it was last for like 1,000 years. Some long period of time, But anyways, I guess it's, they're willing to do it. We would put all the faith and everything over there, put the seeds in there, and now the thing's starting to melt. Global warming. No, climate change, my friends. But nonetheless, this is not a good sign for a population, a species of people, humans, that want to save these most important seeds on the face of the earth. And the place you're saving them from almost got flooded. It didn't reach all the way in, but it froze before it got all the way in. Not a good sign now, is it? Not a good sign, but, that's us humans. That's how we roll. We do stuff until, unexpectedly happened today. Unexpectedly, Bitcoin unexpectedly went over 2,000. The Dow Jones unexpectedly fell 370 points, etc. Unexpectedly. Oh, sure. That's just how we roll. Whatever. Want to share that little story with you. A little different kind of doom. But doom has been averted. So go back to sleep. Let's go back to watching our TV shows. Nothing to see here. Take care.